Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Guanqin GJ16199. Let's start out with the wrist check. I'm wearing an Bossy N12395, and Grogu's still wearing my Skimmy 1370. Grogu asked Princess Leia if she remembers when she was 10 and Obi-Wan helped her flee the bounty hunter. She said flee the bounty hunter didn't belong to her, and Obi-Wan most certainly did not help him. Grogu said no, not flee the bounty hunter, to flee the bounty hunter. She says she never heard of a bounty hunter named To Flee. He said no, to flee, not to flee. She said to flee or not to flee is still one flea too many. Okay, let's take a look at the watch. It comes in a box very similar to the watches that Pagani Designs come in. And here it is. When someone mentions originality with a budget AliExpress watch, one must take it with a grain of salt. Yes, the dial and bezel insert seem refreshingly original, but when one looks at the case, bracelet, and clasp, they are clearly shouting Rolex Submariner. With only 100 meters of water resistance and no proper lume pip on the timing bezel, this is not an actual watch you would want to use diving. Instead, it is a dive-style watch. There are 4 colorways, a black, blue, green, and a black PVD coated. I chose the green because I think it is the better looking of the 3. The blue has a red line on the bezel, and I didn't like the red. The watch is 40.7 millimeters at the bezel, 47.8 millimeters lug to lug, 12.7 millimeters thick if you don't count the Cyclops, has a 20 millimeter lug width, and it tapers down to 15.9 at the adjusting links, and it weighs 152 grams with 2 links removed. The bezel is a 90-click unidirectional with a ceramic insert. The action's pretty good. A little bit of back play, but not very much. Clicks are solid, and there's not too much resistance. And it seems to line up nice, but once again, there's no lume pip. Instead of having a lume pip, you just have the 60, where a lume pip would normally go. I don't know if I like that. First of all, it's kind of confusing. And second of all, they use really thin numbers. So it would be okay maybe if the 60 was a little bit more prominent, but these numbers are so thin, it needs a home position, and I don't think it has a proper home position. Then at the odds, they have these batons here. These are lume too. This is a fully lume bezel. And when I show you the lume test later, you'll see that these batons are pretty good, but the numbers are so thin that the lume is just a little bit inadequate. The dial is a green sunburst dial. Usually when I say sunburst, I mean the light reflection. But in this case, it's the paint, how it's green, it gets darker towards the edge, kind of like a guitar. You call a guitar with this kind of finish a sunburst guitar, and it has nothing to do with light reflection. It says Guanqin on the top and has the Guanqin logo printed, and then it says automatic on the bottom and does not give the water resistance. It is 100 meters. Which is surprising. Usually most dive style watches give the water resistance on the bottom. I don't mind, that's fine with me. I think I prefer an uncluttered dial. Has applied lumed indices with batons everywhere except for the 12 o'clock, which is an equilateral triangle. And of course there's no index at the 3 because the date is so big. Has lume sword hands and a thin second hand with no lume. Then it has minute markers on a chapter ring. The date is borderless at the 3. It has a serious Cyclops. Look at that magnification. I mean, no matter how you feel about a Cyclops or not, if you're going to have a Cyclops, then have a Cyclops. And this one certainly delivers. It has a signed screw-down crown with the G for Guanqin. It pops nicely when unscrewed, and it has great thread action when screwing back in. You don't really feel any thread resistance. It feels really nice when screwing back down. you have confidence that you're not going to strip it or anything. Has a sapphire crystal with no AR coating. You can see there's quite a bit of reflection there. That's the downside of sapphire. The case is a solid stainless steel with polished sides and brushed tops and bottoms. And as I said before, it looks very similar to a Submariner case. It's got that kind of shape and design. And there's a screw down coin edge case back with no writing at all. This provides 100 meters of water resistance. I really don't like the coin edge case backs. I'd much rather have one with slots so you can use a normal tool and not have to have those special coin edge tools. Underneath the case back is the NH35. You can save $8 and get a Miyota 8215 if you like. I suggest you spend the extra $8 and get it the NH35. I just think it's a better movement than the Miyota. The NH35 is the go-to workhorse movement for watches in this price range. It is a 24 joule 3 Hz movement that hand winds and hacks and has a bidirectional rotor with 40-hour power reserve. And they're usually fairly accurate right off the shelf. This one here is running a little bit slow though. Let me show it to you on the time grapher. Here it is on the time grapher. As you can see, the watch is running pretty slow. I've been having to set it quite a bit, and it's always annoying when a watch is slow rather than fast, because a fast watch you can just hack it, wait for time to catch up. A slow watch you actually have to adjust the hands. So that's kind of disappointing. Most NH35s I get run fast and not slow, but this one's running slow. But it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a slow running one. The oyster style bracelet has solid protruding end links. As you can see, they're solid, not hollow. The links are fully brushed on the tops and the bottoms, and they're polished on the sides here. It has screw pin adjusters, and the heads are fairly big and the slots are deep, so it's not that difficult to get a small screwdriver in there. Has a signed oyster style clasp. And it has the easy link and not the glide lock. Easy link. Lets out the bracelet just a bit. And this being an oyster style, you have the micro adjust inside the clasp here. This one has 4, so that's a pretty good amount of micro adjust. One thing that's different about this clasp and the ones that are used by Pagani Design is you can release the spring bars without pulling out the easy link. And also there are 2 slots and not just 1. So it makes adjusting it a little bit easier. It'd still be nice if it had some kind of glide lock system. If Tesson can do it on a $60 watch, I wish more watch companies would. Here's the watch on my 7.5 inch wrist. I think it looks nice. Wears nice and flat, not too big of a gap. And I like the fact that the bracelet's fully brushed. Just looks a little bit nicer than the polished center link ones that you usually see. Here we are in the Lume room. This watch has a fully Lume bezel, so let's see how it goes in this test. As we speed up the time, we can see that the hand lume is quite good, which is the most important part anyway. The indices are fading fairly quickly, and even though the batons on the bezel are doing very well, the thin numbers are pretty weak, which is too bad since there is no lume pip and the 60 represents the home position. I sure wish they would have included a lume pip. What do I like about this watch? Well, it has a unique look, and I really like the look of it. I like this sunburst dial. And once again, by sunburst, I don't mean light reflection. I mean how the paint becomes darker towards the edge. And I like the fact that since it has a Cyclops, the Cyclops does a good job. I mean, there's nothing worse than a Cyclops that barely magnifies. And I like the fact that the hand lume is really good. Even though that the bezel lume is kind of disappointing. Not the numbers. The hand lume is the most important part, and you can see the hands. What are my gripes and groans? No lume pip at the home position. And this 60 fades quickly, so it doesn't do a very good job. You're not going to be able to use the timing bezel in the dark very well if that's something you ever want to do. And another gripe is just the bezel numbers. They're just so thin. And they fade really quickly. And I'll always complain about oyster style clasp unless the watch is homaging a Rolex or it has some form of glide lock. And this one is not. Do I recommend this watch? Sure. If you like the looks of the watch, then there is no gripe or groan big enough to dissuade you from this watch. It looks nice, wears nice, and is well built. This watch will serve you well for the price. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Guanqin GJ16199, and I will be back with another review. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.